Archaeologists are great at their job, but sometimes they come across something that makes absolutely no sense. When they can't figure out what they've found, they'll turn to scientists for assistance. But sometimes, even scientists aren't sure what they're looking at. Despite all their combined experience, there are still ancient discoveries that remain unexplained, and those are the finds we're going to show you in this video. So, get ready to question everything you know. Number 15, the Dogon star knowledge. History depends on timelines. We assume knowledge only appears after the tools needed to discover it exist. Astronomy after telescopes, engineering after mathematics. But the Dogon story creates a problem with that idea. The Dogon people of Mali preserved their knowledge through ritual and oral tradition for generations. During the 1930s, French anthropologists Marcel Griol and Germaine Dieterlen spent years living among them, learning their language and recording teachings rarely shared with outsiders. What they documented immediately raised questions. The Dogon described Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, as having a hidden companion star invisible to the naked eye. They called it Po Tolo. According to their tradition, this object was incredibly small, unbelievably heavy, white in color, and orbited Sirius roughly every 50 years. That description closely matches Sirius B, a dense white dwarf star officially observed by modern astronomy using telescopes. The Dogon also spoke about Saturn's rings, Jupiter's moons, and the Earth orbiting the Sun. The obvious question is simple. How did they know? Number 14, the acoustic pyramid of Uxmal. If you go deep inside the jungles of Mexico, you'll come across an ancient Maya pyramid that behaves in a way stone buildings should not. The structure is known as the Pyramid of the Magician at Uxmal, and from the moment archaeologists found it, the design immediately felt different from other Maya sites. Most pyramids in the region were built with sharp corners and straight lines. This one rises with smooth, curved sides and an unusual oval shape that has already made historians question how it was engineered. But the strangest detail is not visual. It is acoustic. If someone stands at the base of the staircase and claps loudly, the echo bouncing back does not sound normal. The pyramid transforms the sound into a sharp chirping noise almost identical to the sacred Quetzal bird. Researchers later discovered the dimensions of the stone steps were carefully arranged to manipulate sound waves in a very specific way. That means Maya builders were not just shaping stone for appearance. Somehow, they understood how geometry could control sound itself centuries before modern acoustic science existed. Number 13, Amarna letters. When archaeologists found these letters in Egypt during the late 1800s, they expected dry political records and routine diplomacy. What they found instead painted a collapsing empire. The clay tablets contained correspondence between Egyptian pharaohs and rulers across the ancient Near East, all written in cuneiform. Buried inside the letters were desperate pleas for military help, warnings about invasions, and reports of entire regions slipping out of Egypt's control. Some messages even mentioned mysterious groups called the Habiru, a name many researchers later linked to early Hebrews. The tablets shattered the old image of ancient Egypt as an unstoppable superpower calmly ruling the region. Instead, they revealed fear, instability, and political panic spreading across neighboring kingdoms. Several rulers practically begged Egypt to intervene before enemies destroyed them. For years, many of these records remained buried inside archives rather than being displayed publicly. They showed an ancient world far more chaotic than most people had imagined, and historians were not entirely comfortable with that picture. Number 12. Chan Chan's desert metropolis. Almost nothing should have survived at Chan Chan. The place sits along one of the driest coastlines on Earth, where rain barely falls, and the sun burns the landscape into dust. Yet spread across the Peruvian desert are the remains of a gigantic city built almost entirely from mud. The city belonged to the Chimu Empire and once covered nearly 20 square kilometers. Massive walls surrounded royal compounds filled with plazas, storehouses, burial chambers, and endless maze-like corridors. Every surface was decorated with carved patterns of waves, fish, seabirds, and fishing nets connected to the nearby Pacific Ocean. What makes the city so difficult to explain is the material itself. Unbaked mud should not survive for centuries in a region constantly threatened by El Niño floods. Heavy rain normally turns adobe into collapsing sludge. But the Chimu engineered their walls with careful slopes, drainage systems, and protective coatings strong enough to survive for hundreds of years. Even the Inca Empire struggled to conquer Chan Chan and only succeeded after cutting off the city's water supply. Number 11. Oxyrhynchus papyri. Near the ruins of the ancient Egyptian city of Oxyrhynchus, archaeologists stumbled into what looked like an endless sea of buried paper. Hundreds of thousands of papyrus fragments emerged from the sand, preserved by the dry climate for centuries. At first, researchers thought they were ordinary records. Then the real discoveries started appearing. Lost Greek plays, forgotten poems, religious writings, strange texts that never entered the Bible. Some writings hinted at rituals and beliefs historians barely understood. Others completely challenged accepted ideas about the ancient world. The collection became so enormous that most of it was packed away into storage at Oxford University, where much of it still remains today. The strange part is how little has actually been translated. Scholars estimate that over 90% of these manuscripts remain unread. Entire stories, forgotten philosophies, and lost histories are still sitting inside boxes waiting for someone to finally examine them. It is possible that some of the ancient world's biggest secrets have already been discovered, just not yet opened. Number 10. The Cart Ruts of Malta. Malta and Gozo are covered with deep parallel grooves cut directly into solid limestone. They stretch across hillsides, valleys, rocky plains, and in some places continue straight toward the sea before disappearing underwater. Nobody knows who made them or what they were used for. At first, historians assumed they were ancient cart tracks, slowly worn into the stone over time. That explanation sounds reasonable until you stand beside them. Some grooves are carved nearly 2 feet deep into hard limestone, the same material used in massive fortresses and cathedrals. Wooden wheels should not have been capable of cutting channels like that. The deeper researchers studied the tracks, the stranger they became. Some split apart and re-link like railway switches. Others cross steep terrain where moving heavy cargo would have been almost impossible. Even the spacing between the grooves constantly changes with no standard measurement. The most unsettling detail lies offshore. Several tracks continue beneath the Mediterranean Sea itself, suggesting they may predate the rising sea levels that followed the last ice age. Number 9. The Uluburun shipwreck. Everything about the Uluburun shipwreck changed the way historians viewed the ancient world. Before its discovery, many researchers imagined Bronze Age civilizations as distant kingdoms connected only through limited trade. Then a teenage sponge diver named Mehmet Akir found something resting beneath the Mediterranean Sea that completely shattered that idea. In 1982, while diving near the southern coast of Turkey, he noticed strange metal objects scattered across the seabed. Archaeologists later uncovered the remains of a ship that had sunk more than 3,000 years earlier, carrying one of the most internationally diverse cargoes ever discovered from the ancient world. Inside the wreck were copper ingots from Cyprus, tin likely from Central Asia, glass from Canaan, pottery from Mycenaean Greece, ivory, jewelry, spices, weapons, and even a golden scarab linked to Queen Nefertiti of Egypt. The ship was not just transporting goods. It was physically connecting civilizations. What makes it haunting is that this highly tied Bronze Age world collapsed only a few years after the ship disappeared beneath the sea. Number 8. Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat is not just another ancient temple hidden in the Cambodian jungle. It is the largest religious structure ever built, and the deeper researchers study it, the harder it becomes to explain. The complex was supposedly completed during the 12th century under King Suryavarman II. That already sounds impressive until you look at the scale involved. The temple contains millions of sandstone blocks, many weighing more than a ton each, transported from quarries located over 20 miles away through rivers and dense jungle terrain. And the builders were not simply stacking stone. Every surface of the temple is covered with detailed carvings showing battles, celestial dancers, mythology, and scenes from daily life. Construction and artwork were happening simultaneously across a structure covering hundreds of acres. Then there is the alignment. Angkor Wat faces almost perfectly west and contains measurements connected to solar and lunar cycles. Some researchers even argue that the layout mirrors ancient star patterns. What unsettles engineers most are the stone joints themselves. Many fit together with precision difficult to recreate even today. Oak. Now let's move to number 7. Fayum mummy portraits. During the 1800s, archaeologists excavating burial sites in Egypt's Fayum region uncovered mummies unlike anything historians expected. Covering the faces of the dead were painted portraits so lifelike they almost looked modern. The eyes seemed alive. Expressions carried emotion instead of the stiff, symbolic style normally associated with ancient Egyptian art. Some portraits showed wrinkles, tired faces, jewelry, and tiny imperfections that made the people feel strangely real even after 2,000 years. What disturbed many experts was how advanced the paintings appeared compared to what they believed ancient portraiture should look like. Standing in front of them feels less like looking at artifacts and more like staring directly into the face of someone who lived centuries ago. Many of these portraits remained hidden inside collections and museum storage for years before receiving wider attention. Even now, they carry an eerie presence. Ancient civilizations often feel distant and abstract, but these paintings destroy that distance completely. The dead suddenly stop feeling ancient and start feeling human again. Number 6. Dashka Stone. Hidden away inside museum storage for years sat a strange carved stone slab that some researchers nicknamed the Dashka Stone. At first glance, it looked ordinary, but the markings across its surface sparked endless arguments. Certain researchers believed the patterns resembled river systems, terrain lines, and geographical features that should not have been known in the ancient world. A few even claimed parts of the carving looked disturbingly similar to aerial mapping, as if whoever created it had seen the land from high above. Mainstream historians dismissed those ideas and argued the stone was probably symbolic or decorative. Still, the debate never fully disappeared. Instead of becoming a major public exhibit, the artifact quietly remained out of sight, rarely discussed outside small research circles. That silence only added fuel to the mystery. Whether the stone represents forgotten cartography, coincidence, or something completely misunderstood, nobody has managed to settle the argument. The more people examine it, the stranger the entire story seems to become over time. Now, let's move to number 5, the carved city of Jiaohe. Most ancient cities were built upward using stone, timber, and brick. Jiaohe followed a totally different idea. Instead of constructing walls above the ground, its builders carved an entire city directly into the earth itself. The ruins sit on a long plateau in northwestern China, surrounded by steep river valleys that naturally protected the settlement from attack. Traders traveling the Silk Road once stopped there after crossing brutal desert routes filled with heat, sandstorms, and raiders. What they found was a city unlike anything else in the region. Rather than hauling massive building materials across the desert, workers dug deep trenches into the packed soil to create streets, courtyards, homes, temples, and watchtowers. The earth left standing became the walls of the city itself. Underground chambers stored grain, military supplies, and fresh water, while thick layers of soil naturally insulated the rooms from extreme summer heat and freezing winter nights. Keeping the city alive needed another engineering marvel, an underground tunnel network that secretly carried glacial meltwater beneath the desert before evaporation could destroy it. Number 4. Vredefort Dome rock carvings. The Vredefort Dome in South Africa marks the remains of the largest confirmed impact crater on Earth, created when a massive asteroid struck the planet nearly 2 billion years ago. Around the crater, archaeologists later discovered ancient rock carvings made by the Khoisan people who once lived throughout the region. The engravings depict animals such as rhinos and hippos, but some researchers believe the site carried a deeper meaning beyond simple artwork. Because the crater dramatically shaped the landscape, early communities may have viewed it as a sacred or spiritual location tied to stories passed down for generations. Certain carvings even appear positioned along natural formations created by the ancient impact itself. Nobody on this planet Earth knows exactly what the people understood about the place, but the connection between the artwork and the crater feels difficult to ignore. There is something fascinating about humans unknowingly building cultural and spiritual meaning around the scar of a cosmic disaster that occurred unimaginably long before humanity itself even existed on Earth. Number 3. Ollantaytambo. Everything about Ollantaytambo feels controlled until you start looking closely at the stonework. Terraces climb the mountainside with precision, pathways cut through rock, and huge blocks fit together so tightly that mortar becomes unnecessary. Then the questions begin. Some stones inside the temple sector weigh more than 50 tons. Their surfaces are smooth, their edges sharp, and their alignment incredibly accurate. These were not rough blocks stacked quickly for survival. They were shaped carefully, almost obsessively. The quarry sat across the valley beyond a river and steep, uneven ground. Somehow, ancient workers dragged those stones uphill without cranes, engines, or modern roads. Even today, the terrain feels difficult just to walk across. Then the strangest detail appears. Some blocks never reach their final position. A few remain halfway up the slopes as if construction suddenly stopped in the middle of the process. What remains looks more disturbing than destruction. It looks like skilled builders simply walked away before finishing. Number 2. Tunguska microspheres. In 1908, something exploded over the forests of Siberia with enough force to flatten more than 2,000 square kilometers of trees. The blast happened near the Tunguska River and was so powerful that people hundreds of kilometers away reportedly felt the shockwave. Yet strangely, there was no impact crater. Scientists later concluded that a massive meteor or asteroid exploded in the atmosphere before reaching the ground. Years afterward, researchers studying the area found tiny metallic spheres buried in the soil and trapped inside tree resin. These microscopic beads contained nickel and other elements commonly found in meteorites but rare in ordinary Earth rock. The particles became some of the strongest physical evidence connected to the event because the main object itself never survived intact. Scientists believe the intense heat from the explosion melted and vaporized material high in the sky before it cooled into these strange little spheres. Even today, the Tunguska event remains one of the most powerful and mysterious explosions ever recorded in human history. Oak. Let's end this with number 1. Ziggurat of Chogha, Zanbil. A group of British oil surveyors flying over the deserts of Iran in 1935 noticed something strange below them. Hidden beneath the sand was a gigantic square shape casting sharp shadows across the landscape. What looked unnatural from the air turned out to be one of the largest ancient ziggurats ever found. The site became known as Chogha Zanbil, a massive religious complex built around 1250 BC by the Elamite king Untashnaparisha. Millions of baked bricks were used to construct the enormous stepped pyramid in the middle of an unforgiving desert environment. Some bricks still carry cuneiform inscriptions pressed into the clay more than 3,000 years ago. The real mystery lies underground. The Elamites built a huge water filtration system capable of cleaning muddy river water brought through canals stretching over 40 kilometers across the desert. Settling tanks, waterproof chambers, and porous brick filters worked together to produce drinkable water for thousands of people. The system functioned like a modern municipal treatment plant built thousands of years before modern engineering existed. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Take care, and we'll see you very soon.